Hi guys, how you going? Campbell here from Autodidactic Channel. Hope you're having a joyous day. And as always guys, autodidactic means to be self-educated, and more now than ever we need to be self-educated, because if we are not, the only choice we have left to us is to believe what we are told. And today I wanted to have a look at the whole history thing, what's really gone on in the last couple of 100 years, because we do find ourselves at the moment in a very strange place. You know, no one's really sure what's going on. There's obviously two sides to this battle that's happening at the moment, and clearly one side is trying to take over, and we the people do not want that. But I've been thinking about, where did this all start and how long has this been going for? What's really been going on Earth in the last couple of 100 years? Because when we look around, we see all these buildings that look like they were made, in another time for another world. They're completely different to the buildings that we build today and that we can build today. Just in their sheer size, their magnificence, the way that they've, been constructed, and the fact that they're still almost all in perfect condition today. And clearly, many of them, or most of them, are very old. They're much older than we're told. And the other thing about this story is we're told all these buildings were built pretty much, we're talking that the city-type buildings were pretty much built in the 1800s. And in the 1800s, we didn't have machinery, we didn't have cars, trucks, petrol, diesel, didn't even have steam engines, no cranes. There might have been simple pulleys and things that they could use. And then as far as, crafting, the blocks and all the craft works that they've done, the skill required to do all this is just huge, and the resources as well. They never talk about where all the materials for these buildings came from. And we just end up with things that look like this. And it's almost out of the realm for us to imagine designing something like this, because it's very far away from our society. We now live in boxes, little square boxes that they throw up, quickly and for a lifetime of 10 years, 20 years. And they just sit there, they're not efficient, they guzzle energy. And then around us we have these magnificent structures, and they are huge. They look like they're built for giants. They really do. So what's going on here with all these buildings? And this is not to mention that a lot of them seem to be sunk into the ground and have windows going straight into the ground, have stairs going up to a second story. But with these old buildings too, you'll notice that there are similar designs. We have these cathedrals, with the big pointy spires. We have more castle-looking type structures with the more squared-off towers. Then obviously we have the big, the big houses, and there's a couple of different styles there. We have the Capitol buildings with their big domes, and this architecture is the same all over the earth. So let's get in and have a bit of a look at some of the buildings and how the story they tell us does not quite add up. And in case you didn't know, Photoshop has been around for quite a while, since the 1800s at least that we know of. And you can see this picture here has clearly been photoshopped. This was the original, as far as I know. I'm not sure exactly who this gentleman is. And if you have a look at the background, it's, everything's exactly the same. Nice Masonic floor there. Bit of different ground on this one. And they've just inserted Abraham Lincoln standing here. This one is of Hitler. You can see he's standing there having a chat to some friends. But over on this side, we have this gentleman who has been taken out of the photo. As you can see, it's a good job. The background's a bit different here, but you wouldn't notice that. Here's another one. This is looks like an officer. He's actually smoking a cigar, as you can see, and the smoke's running up, and there's his girlfriend or wife in his cigar smoke. And these, there's quite a few of these. It's a bit strange, but lots of headless photos. As you can see, we've got a bunch of soldiers all carrying their own heads. This was produced by the Russian government as part of a propaganda project back in the 30s and 40s, I think. And as you'll see, it looks like a supersonic jet thing flying out of the water. And here's some more of the creepy headless photos. You can see these are all, you know, early 1900s, late 1800s. You know, all a bit morbid. But this is what they could do, you know, photo manipulation. This guy's got his head on a stick. And so this is what was going on back in the 1800s. Look at this one. And they could definitely do this. And so what's to say that the photos that we're looking at, where they're actually trying to hide the truth from us and hide history, what's to say that they are not manipulated? In fact, you know, with what we know about the world and what's going on, it would make sense that they were manipulated, because we know that they're lying. They're lying to us. And if you'd like to support this channel and the work that it does, then you'll find some links in the description where you can make a donation, and you'll also find some autodidactic merchandise where we have t-shirts, hoodies, cups, all that kind of stuff. And we've got some new designs. We've got the traditional autodidactic self-education is the way forward t-shirt, and also his story is not our story. And there's also the new free your mind, turn off the TV t-shirts, and also our facts over fear t-shirt. So get in the shop, have a look around, buy some stuff, guys. Help support this channel and the work that I do. It is all very appreciated, and all your support will go into helping this channel expand and get more information out to the general public. So click the link in the description below, check out the merch at the Autodidactic shops, and you'll also find there is 2 links, one for Australia and New Zealand and one for everyone else, and this is just to save you guys money on shipping. So thanks a lot for all your support, guys, and let's get back to it. And this is the temple in Salt Lake City. An absolutely magnificent structure. I mean, you can just see the work that's gone into this. You know, very obviously a huge building as well, very old world, and just looks like a castle. And the story with this is the Mormons turned up, you know, looking for their promised land kind of thing. Turned up in their buggies, and you know, with just what they had on their backs. They may have had simple tools, but they had no machinery. There was no industry here. The story is they just turned up and it was a blank canvas, and they started building pretty much straight away, and it took them 40 years to build this temple with no tools, no industry, no nothing. And so let's have a look at this temple. So this is a construction photo, we're told, of the temple. You can see we've got looks like bulls and a cart. Everyone here is posing for the camera. Look at them all. Every single one of them is looking at the camera, even these people up top. And you'll see that we've got a flat piece of ground here and then a mound going up. Clearly this guy's, you know, they're higher, they're on a mound. Now, for a building of this size, you do not do that. You flatten the land, you build a very, you know, good foundation, or dig a hole for the foundation and build that, and then you build on flat land. And these windows look like they're going into the ground. So what's going on here? This looks half built. Did they build this? Well, all these wooden cranes and things up here, you can see that there's nothing around on the ground for them to lift, for starters. So what are they doing? You know, because it looks like they're there to, you know, lift the rocks up. That's what we're supposed to think, that they're lifting the blocks up. But there's nothing on the ground. There seems to be no organisation, nothing ready for them to do. No tools anywhere, just rubble. It's just kind of all rubble and dirt. Now what happened is they did an excavation on this building, and this is what they found. This is the front of the temple, and this is the stairs going up to the front door, and this clearly is a whole nother level underground. This is the original sandstone foundation, and this is a whole nother level with windows. You can see this doorway went straight down. The whole lot. Here's a different angle, and you'll see with this one, this is actually, there's a guy down here, and you can see they've measured this. So this is 14 feet, and this is another 16 feet. So that's 30 feet underground, one 14-foot level. And again, you can see this window continues straight under the ground. Now, we need to ask ourselves, why has this been hidden? Because the people who've turned up and found Salt Lake City, they've found this temple. Clearly they did not build this underground, and clearly it has not filled up with this much dirt in the last 100 years or so. So they knew this was here, and they have hidden this. They've hidden it from us. Apart from the fact they've hidden that these buildings were already here, and that the 40-year period was actually just a clean-up job, not a construction job, they've also hidden that there was a huge event in our past, in the last 200 or 300 years, that has covered a lot of buildings up to 30 feet in mud, and some are more. Now, when they did the pictures for their renovation, you'll see this is one of them, and they've drawn these subterranean floors in the picture. And here we have a construction photo. What we're told is a construction photo of them building the temple. And we have lots of men standing around. You know, they've got waistcoats. It's not really work clothes, is it? They've got like, vests and things on, but they're all, again, posing for the camera. Look at them all. Even the guys in the background, they're all posing. But look at this scene. Huge blocks of cut stone, and not a tool in sight. Not a crane, not a trolley, nothing. No hand tools. And this guy's just standing here pointing at it. You know, this guy cannot lift this block with his mates. He can't. And look at how it's just all over the place. You know, if they were cutting this and going to make a temple, it would all be stacked up, right? You know, and ready to use if they were cutting this. And it begs the question, how are they cutting it and transporting it all? Now, is this just rubble left from something that's been smashed from whatever caused this mud flood? And just one more pic here. This is, again, around the turn of the century. You can see we've got a cartwheel here. Fully constructed temple in the background. And this wall. You know, a big stone wall, and it's quite clearly a very tall wall. You can see there's a man here, and he's off the ground, so, you know, that's a pretty big wall, 25, 30 foot probably. You know, three of him or four. And it's just sitting there. Obviously, the rest of it's gone, and again, we just get rubble all over the ground. Just rubble everywhere. So what really went on in Salt Lake City? And here we have the Capitol building in Washington, and the same thing, they did a renovation, and when they dug down, they exposed that there was another level underneath already there. And this is the same story, built in the 1800s. But if we zoom in here, you'll see that the steps clearly stop here on what looks like a lintel, and there's columns going down below the ground. See this window? See how it goes below this? This all looks like new concrete reinforcing, like concrete walls. But clearly you can see that what's behind this clearly goes down. You can see it here to another window going down. Columns, the whole lot. This is a street in Russia, and again they were doing excavations. This looks like they were doing roadworks, putting pipes and things in. And they've dug down, and look what they've exposed. Windows and doors. This one still has a window frame on it by the looks of it. Going straight down into the ground, and the foundations are way down here. And this is just all mud. And this was called the Hole of Paris. It was, again, a huge government works where they did excavations. And on this one, you'll see they've uncovered multiple stories, 3 or 4 stories here. Got all these old buildings on top. And underneath, going down, we have columns down here. This has all been exposed. Okay, they might have put some reinforcing in there, I'm not sure, but you can see there's brick walls behind there and there's columns all the way along. And if you think that maybe, these columns are part of reinforcing, why would they use columns? They would just be using this concrete wall stuff. So there's definitely stuff under there, basically we're walking on history. Civilization is under our feet. It seems to have been covered up, and covered up a lot. As far as physically, the buildings have been covered. I think some we've completely lost, and others we're just seeing the tops of. Or we've just lost a couple of stories. But again, the question is, this event would have been a huge worldwide event, and we're talking 200 to 300 years ago, and it's been completely erased from our story. Just like the civilization of Tartaria. The country of Tartaria has been erased from our history books and from our atlases and maps. Why? What happened? What happened 200 or 300 years ago? Because I think, with all the evidence that we've got, it was the start of something, the start of a takeover, the start of people trying to change the world so that they could turn it into the place that they wanted it to be. And we are seeing the results of that right now in the world that we're living in right now. And so we have all these maps of this country, Tartaria. As you'll see right here, Tartaria. And Tartaria, or Tartary, was a huge country. It covered basically most of Russia, China, India, and it looks like it was sort of a lot of Eastern Europe as well. And it's just, if you look at the maps, it just got pushed back and it was just made smaller and smaller until it disappeared completely. There is still a province in Russia called Tartazan, and there's still Tartars around, but what we're told now is that Tartaria wasn't a country. We're told that it was just a region and a people. But quite clearly, it's on maps everywhere. Tartary, China. So why has this been hidden from us? Because maps don't just get drawn. Back in the day, maps were expensive to do. And Tartaria is everywhere. As you can see here, look how big it used to be. And again, it's been erased from our history. It's not taught in schools. It's not even taught in history in universities. But clearly, it did exist, and all the maps seem to stop around the 1800s, the early 1800s. So again, we get this time frame of the sort of mid-1700s to mid-1800s, where there was a lot of change. A lot of the information that used to be known was suddenly taken away and was hidden. History was changed. A big event happened that buried buildings. And we also have issues with our dates, and these all seem to come in again around that time frame, sort of 1700s. As you can see on this crest here, we've got a J. That's a definite J, J648. And what that stands for is J for Jesus. So it's in the year of our Lord. Well, 648 years after the year of Jesus, the year of our Lord. That's how they used to write it. And then in the 1600s, the Jesuits and Joseph Scaliger basically changed all these to a 1, making this 648 year now 1648. So you'll see a lot of these either a J or an I for Iusa, which is another way to say Jesus. You'll see here, this is actually, it's not a tombstone, it's like a mileage stone. These put them on the side of the roads to tell you how far you were from certain places. And as you can see here, this is quite clearly a J. J794. So this is saying 794 years after the death of Jesus. Okay, so not only have they stolen and changed history, they've actually added 1,000 years. 1,000 years. You can see here, that's clearly a J. 686. So we're not even living in the time frame that we believe we are. Another one, J626. This is a picture from an old book. And again, you can see we've got 656, and now this one looks more like an I than a J, but it's definitely not a 1. So I656 in the year of well, 656 years after the death of Iusa. Now this is called the King's Desk, and this is a piece of furniture that was, we're told, was made in the 1700s, it's around the 1750s, for King Louis XV of France, I believe. And I mean, you can just see the workmanship. You know, we see a lot of this kind of furniture, and then we see a lot of cheap reproductions, people trying to reproduce this kind of stuff, and they just can't. But what's interesting about this desk, apart from the craftsmanship, I mean, just look at this thing, it's just ridiculous. Is the date. The person who created this desk, apparently, or who at least signed their name to it, you'll see this J is actually dotted. J769. Okay, so, there's that. And that's just a few examples, guys. These things are everywhere. They're on a lot of maps, a lot of old drawings, coins, pottery, things like this. So if you look into it, it's clear that 1,000 years has been added. Okay, so this J769 became 1769. They've added 1,000 years to our story. So what happened in that 1,000 years, and why was it added, and what were they trying to hide? It's also the time frame that the robber barons started to take over in the Americas. Okay, so there you go. The history that we've been told is clearly not what has gone on. We're being lied to, and our history is being covered up. And so in the next episode, we're going to get into who exactly are these people who have hidden history from us and basically stolen everything for themselves and their families. And this is how they've created this generational wealth that is now making the rules, or trying to, for all the people on Earth. So thanks for spending some time with me, guys. Have a joyous day, and I shall catch you on the next upload. Bye for now.
We all know that we're being monitored online and that massive data mining is being done by governments and private corporations. So how do you protect yourself and your information from prying eyes? Well, I use Virtual Shield, and it's a downloadable program that works on your computer and your phone, and it will protect you from any nefarious activity and people trying to get your information and your internet history to put onto their databases. And if you click the link below in the description, you'll get your first month free and also save up to 75% off your first year and get full protection from just $3 a month. And with what's going on at the moment, guys, Your personal privacy and protecting your personal information is more important now than ever. So click the link below and get signed up and get protected from just $3 a month.